Welcome back, everybody. But just an update on what we're going to be taking live this morning here on the program. It is Professor Salim Abdul Karim Kabrisa and the chair of the South African Ministerial Advisory Committee on COVID-19 will be hosting the South African response to the COVID-19 pandemic conversation. This engagement will be covered live here on the program. So I'm sure it's going to prove to be very, very informative for all of us listening in. So it's supposed to start at 7:30, but, you know, these things do, I suppose, overrun quite a bit. So as soon as it goes live, we will go to that. That's just to keep you updated as to what's happening on the program this morning. But right now, let's talk to the Public Servants Association, or PSA. It says it's going to court to force government to pay salary increases that were due on the 1st of April 2020. The PSA says workers were disappointed when their salaries paid on the 15th of this month did not include the increase. The PSA is calling on government to abide by the 3-year agreement concluded with unions in 2018. The 3-year arrangement was intended at giving government security to avoid the annual percentage increases and to ensure budgetary provision. Reuben Maleka, PSA's Assistant General Manager, joins us via Skype. Reuben, thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Good morning, Lee, and good morning to the viewers at home.
All right, so the story here is that there hasn't been an increment, as we said in the introduction, with salaries that were paid on Wednesday. Has there been any communication as to why the increases didn't happen according to the agreement?
No, at this point in time, the only response that we received was from the Minister of Public Service Administration, who indicated that they will not be able to afford the adjustment for 2020. And from that point, we actually responded directly to the minister to say that we believe that there's a contract between us and the employer, and that contract must be honored. That contract is a Resolution 1 of 2018. Hence, as the PSA, we believe that that enforcement should be done through the courts. That's why the PSA is heading to the courts.
So this now is the next step for you is to go to the courts. I mean, when government suggested that the agreement be reviewed at the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Councils, unions already voiced your concerns with that. What happened after that?
After they came to the PSABC in an attempt to try and review the resolution, we actually put up a position to say that we reject that move, precisely because we believe that there were other options that government should have opted for instead of targeting public servants. We believe that at this point in time, the government is taking a shortcut to say that they want to make savings that can uplift the fiscals of the state by cutting 15 billion annually from the public servants. We consider that if you look at the 2019 Auditor General report, it says that government lost 62.2 billion through corruption and financial mismanagement. They are not making any attempts to find out where and how and to recover those monies. All what they want to do is to recover from public servants. Hence, we believe that it cannot happen that they are not willing to go greater lengths to protect the country's fiscals by also targeting those looters, and they only target the public servants. Hence, we are saying we'll have to enforce the resolution. We are heading to court to make sure that the public servants get what they deserve. As we speak currently, public servants who are carrying the country through this pandemic are the ones who were waiting for this adjustment on Wednesday, and nothing happened.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where I want to go with the interview now. I mean, many people perhaps sitting on their couches at home listening to this interview saying, no, you know, we're going through COVID-19. They cannot afford to get these increments. However, just as you said, a lot of the public servants we are referring to that are due to get these increases, we're talking about nurses, we're talking about doctors, we're talking about police officers, we're talking about a lot of people that are called essential workers and that are out there working to save South Africa at this time. I mean, perhaps you can elaborate a little bit more on this.
Yes, in fact, we are very disappointed, and some of the members have been on call with us as unions, asking us what should happen. And some of them, they also believe that perhaps it's a matter that they can strike about. We informed our members to be patient with us, to say that it is of necessity of them to continue working, especially during this time of the pandemic, and that will handle this matter. And as PSA, we even give them confidence that we believe this matter being in the courts, that's the right forum, that's where it could be resolved. So you can see it has really agitated majority of the essential workers who were even calling us to say, but what should happen? We said that as the PSA that it cannot be a strikeable matter. It is a right matter. We are going to make sure that it's end of the day, even if it means that the court decide in September or October this year. The fact of the matter is that it's going to be backdated. Come September, come October, it will be a back pay from 1 April 2020, which members deserve, and will ensure that that happens.
Yeah. We have interviewed and spoken to the Public Service and Administration Minister, Senzo Mchunu, and the Employment and Labour Minister, Thulas Nxesi. They've both said that government is not reneging. The agreement review was just a suggestion. What is your response?
Look, we also wanted to understand that we believe that it's just trying to bluff us as public servants, because we all know that if you make a commitment, you honor the commitment. You don't just make a commitment that says that you are not going to renege, but you are not willing to implement. Because since February, they've been saying the same thing. We actually wanted a firm commitment in writing from the Minister of Public Service Administration, but there was not. That has never forthcoming. And come the 15th of April, when this was expected, nothing comes. So there's no way that they're honest with us. And I believe that, they must stop that kind of narrative, because it's agitating our members. Our members are saying, but the minister says this, but nothing happens. So they must be honest with us and tell us that when are they going to implement? Because we are now going to head to court and waste resources, which are very limited, and go to court to enforce something that we believe that is an agreement. How do you now then say that it is something that we are not going to renege from, but you don't implement it? So we are very disappointed with that kind of narratives that comes from the ministers. We want this to be implemented as soon as possible. We deserve this salary adjustment, and they must honor the agreement.
Yeah. So there are a lot of other organizations that have said that they would go into discussions with government as opposed to going the legal route. Are you open to that? Would you open up the discussions, perhaps to talk to them more before entering into the courts?
Look, there's nothing that prevents us from talking to government to ensure that they implement. And I know for sure that the other trade unions that are following other route to the PSABC is also another dispute form. And we believe that all front that we are taking, whether from the COSATU union, from the Fiducia union, or PSA itself, whether you go to court or you go conciliation route, the ultimate aim is to make sure that ultimately the employer implements the resolution in totality. And in any move, any union that is taking, end of the day, the ultimate aim is that we want the state to implement the resolution, and we believe that we deserve. And that's why, as the PSA, we're even saying, and we've been saying to the state to say that there are other options that they should have considered instead of taking government money. The first thing that they should also look into to say that out of all the looters, who has ever paid back the money that has been looted? But the simple way to do it is to say that public servants must pay. And that's why we're saying we cannot accept even going back to say that let's review Resolution 1 of 2018. Our members out there, the police, the nurses, have been waiting for this adjustment. And we can no longer wait to be talking into the PSABC if there's no firm commitment to implement Resolution 1 of 2018. Of course, come September this year, when we table new demands, all those reasons that they are forwarding, we can take them into consideration when we enter into a new discussion and new negotiations for the new resolution coming for 2021.
Yeah. Two very, very quick questions, Reuben, if you don't mind sort of giving us some short answers. Besides the COVID-19 crisis that we're currently going through right now, and we are going to see a lot more people losing their jobs, it is going to set the country back economically dramatically. There has been a long-held view that government cannot sustain this current wage bill. What's your opinion in this regard?
Look, the fact of the matter is that a narrative of saying and I know it has been said that the public service is bloated. We had that debate from last year, and I believe at this stage that debate has been put to rest, because we have gone through the process with the Minister of the PSA, and we found out that, in fact, the public service requires more capacity than it has now. If you look at it, this pandemic has actually proved correct to say that they need more nurses, they need more police officers, they need more correctional officials, just to mention the few. The more, if you look at now, they are even hiring the retired nurses to come and help with the pandemic. If you go to the correctional centers, because of the pandemic, is causing havoc, lack of capacity. The inmates are now being infected by the coronavirus simply because there's no capacity. Police officers are now being helped by the SANDF, the National Defence Force, because why? They don't have capacity. So this is not true that the public service is bloated. They have to resort to retrenchment. In fact, public service requires more of capacity as we speak.
All right. Finally, how far are you with this legal action? Just very quickly update us. Where are you at there?
We will be serving our court papers today. They have been finalized. We are ready to serve today.
Okay. Reuben, let's leave it there. The Assistant General Manager at the Public Servants Association, Reuben Maleka, talking to us about their intention to go to court as government has not paid those salary adjustments. All right, 7:30.